What I'm going to tell you has something to do with why sometimes it's necessary to go a long distance out of the way in order to come back a short distance correctly. Or maybe I only think it has something to do with that, but it's why I went to the zoo today and why I walked north, or northerly rather, until I came here. Okay. The dog, I think I told you this, is a black monster of a beast. An oversized head, tiny ears and eyes, bloodshot, infected maybe, and a body, I mean, you can see the ribs through the skin. The dog is black, all black except for the bloodshot eyes. Oh no, yeah, there's an open sore on its right forepaw. That's red too. And what else? Oh yeah, the poor monster. And I do believe it's an old dog. It's certainly a misused one. Almost always has an erection of sorts. That's red too. And what else? Oh yeah, there's a gray, yellow, white color too when he bares his fangs like this. Which is what he did when he saw me for the first time the day I moved in. Now, animals don't take to me like St. Francis had birds hanging off him all the time. What I mean is, like, animals are indifferent to me. Like people. Most of the time. But this dog wasn't indifferent. From the very beginning, he'd snarl and then go for me to get one of my legs. Not like he was rabid, you know. I mean, he was sort of a stumbly dog, but he wasn't half-assed either. I mean, it was a good stumbly one, but I always got away. He got a piece of my trouser leg once, you know, the second day I moved in there, but, you know, I was able to kick free and get upstairs, so that was that. You know, I wonder to this day how the other roomers were managing it. But you know what I think? I think it only had to do with me. Cozy, huh? Anyway, this went on for over a week. Whenever I came in, but never when I went out. That's funny. Or it was funny. I mean, I could pack up and live in the street for all that dog cared. Anyway, I thought about it up in my room one day, one of the times after I bolted upstairs, and I made up my mind. First, I'll kill the dog with kindness. And if that doesn't work, I'll just kill him. Don't react, just listen. So the next day I went out and I bought a bag of hamburgers, medium rare, no ketchup, no onions. And on the way home I threw away all the rolls and kept just the meat. Well, when I got back to the rooming house, the dog was waiting for me. I half opened the door that led into the entrance hall, and there he was, waiting. I went in very cautiously, and I had the hamburgers, you remember. I opened the bag and laid the meat down about 12 feet from where the dog was snarling at me, like so. The dog snarled, stopped snarling, sniffed, then moved slowly, then faster towards the meat. Well, when he got to it, he stopped and he looked at me. And I smiled, tentatively, you understand. Then he turned his head back to the meat, and rah, like that he tore into them. It was as if he had never eaten anything in his life before except like garbage, which may have been the truth. I don't think that landlady eats anything but garbage. I mean, he ate all the hamburgers almost all at once, making sounds in his throat like a woman. Then, when he finished the meat, the hamburgers, and tried to eat the paper too, he sat down and smiled. Well, I think he smiled. I know cats do. It was a very gratifying few moments. Then, bam, he snarled and made for me again. Well, he didn't get me this time either, and I got back up in my room, and I lay down in my bed, and I started to think about this dog. To be truthful, I was offended. And damn mad, too. It was 6 pretty good hamburgers with not enough pork in it to make it disgusting. I was offended, but I thought I'd try it for a few more days. If you think about it, this dog had what it amounted to as an antipathy towards me. And I wondered if I might not overcome this antipathy. So I tried it for 5 more days. But it was always the same. Snarl, sniff, move, faster, bam, smile, snarl, bam! And by this time, Columbus Avenue was strewn with hamburger rolls, and I was less offended than disgusted. So I decided to kill the dog. I don't worry, I didn't succeed. On the day I decided to kill the dog, I bought only 1 hamburger and what I thought was a murderous portion of rat poison. Now, when I bought the hamburger, I asked the man not to bother with the roll. All I wanted was the meat. I expected some reaction from him, like, we don't sell no hamburgers without rolls, so what are you going to do, eat it out of your hands? But no. He smiled benignly, wrapped up the hamburger in wax paper and said, "Oh, a bite for your pussycat." I wanted to say, "No, not really. This is part of a plan I have to poison a dog I know." But you can't say a dog I know without sounding funny. So I said a little too loud and a little too formally, "Yes, a bite for my pussycat." People looked up. It always happens when I try to simplify things, people look up. But that's neither here nor there. Anyway, on my way back to the rooming house, I kneaded the rat poison and the hamburger together, feeling at that time as much sadness as disgust. When I got back to the rooming house, there the beast was waiting to take my offering and then jump me. Poor bastard. He never realized that the moment he took the smile before he went for me, gave me enough time to get out of range. But there he was, malevolence with an erection, waiting. I put the poison patty down about 12 feet from where he was snarling at me. And then I moved over to the stairway to watch. The poor animal came, gobbled up the food as usual, smiled, which made me almost sick, and then bam! Well, he didn't get me this time either, and I got up to my room and that was it. And it came to pass that the beast was deathly ill. I knew this because he no longer attended me and because the landlady had sobered up. She stopped me in the hall the evening of the attempted murder and confided the information that God had surely struck her puppy dog a surely fatal blow. She had forgotten her bewildered lust, and her eyes were wide open for the first time. They looked like the dog's eyes. She sniffled and implored me to pray for the animal. I wanted to tell her, "But madam, I have myself to pray for. The colored queen, the Puerto Rican family, the person in the front who I've never seen, the woman who cries deliberately behind closed doors, and all the people in all the rooming houses everywhere. And besides, madam, I don't understand how to pray." But to simplify things, I told her I would pray. She said I was lying, that I wanted the dog to die. And I told her, and there's so much truth here, I told her I didn't want the dog to die, and I didn't. And not because I had poisoned him. I'm afraid I must tell you, I wanted the dog to live, so I could see what our new relationship might come to. You have to understand, this is important. You gotta believe me, it's important. We have to know the effect of our actions. Anyway, the dog recovered. I have no idea why, unless he was a descendant of the puppy that guarded the gates of hell or some such resort thing. I mean, I'm not up on my mythology. At any rate, the dog recovered his health, and the landlady recovered her thirst, in no way altered by the Bow Wow's recovery. When I came home from a movie that was playing on 42nd Street, a movie I had seen, or a movie that was like one or several that I had seen, was so hoping for the dog to be waiting for me. I was, well, how would you put it, enticed, fascinated? No, that's not it. I was heart-shatteringly anxious to confront my friend again. Yes, friend. That's the only word to describe it. I was heart-shatteringly, etc., to confront my doggy friend again. I entered through the door and advanced, unafraid, to the center of the entrance hall. The dog was there, looking at me. And do you know, he looked better for his scrape with the Nevermind. I stopped. I looked at him. He looked at me. And I think we spent a long time that way, still, stone statue, just looking at one another. Well, I mean, I could concentrate longer looking into a dog's face than a dog could concentrate looking into mine or anybody else's face for that matter. But during that 2 seconds or 2 hours that we stared at each other, we made contact. Now this is what I wanted to happen. I love the dog now, and I wanted the dog to love me. I had tried to love and I had tried to kill, and both had been unsuccessful by themselves. I had hoped, and I don't know how I expected the dog to understand anything, much less my motivations. I hoped the dog would understand. It's just that if you can't deal with people, you have to deal with something. With a bed, with a cockroach, with a mirror. No, that's too hard. That's one of the last steps. With a cockroach, with a carpet, with a roll of toilet paper. No, that's a mirror too. Always check for bleeding. You see how hard it is to find things? With a wisp of smoke. A wisp of smoke. With pornographic playing cards. With love, with vomiting, with crying with fury because the pretty little ladies aren't pretty little ladies. With howling because you're alive with God. How about that? God, who is a colored queen, who plucks his eyebrows and wears a kimono. Who is a woman who cries with determination behind closed doors. With God, who I am told turned his back on the whole thing a long time ago. With someday, with people. People. With an idea, a concept. And we're better. We're ever better at this humiliating excuse for a jail. We're better to communicate one simple-minded idea than in an entrance hall. Where? It would be a start, a beginning. A beginning of an understanding. With a dog. A dog. A dog. So, the dog and I looked at each other. I longer than the dog. And what I saw then has been the same ever since. Every time the dog and I see each other, we both stop where we are. We regard each other with a mixture of sadness and suspicion, and we feign indifference. We walk past each other safely. We have a compromise. We have made many attempts at contact, and we have failed. The dog has returned to garbage, and I to solitary free passage. I have not returned. I mean to say, I have gained solitary free passage, if that much further loss can be said to be gained. I have learned that neither kindness nor cruelty by themselves, independent of each other, creates any effect beyond themselves. And I have learned that the two combined together at the same time are the teaching emotion. So what has been the result? The dog and I have attained a compromise, more of a bargain, really. We neither love nor hurt because we don't try to reach each other. And was trying to feed the dog not an act of love? And perhaps was the dog's attempt to bite me not an act of love? If we could so misunderstand then why have we invented the word love in the first place? The story of Jerry and the dog. The end.